What's up, investors and people of Reddit, it's the Russian Dude and this is your daily update on Russian-Ukrainian war as of Tuesday, April 12th. And as always, I have two major stories to talk about with you today. First is the capture of Victor Medvedchuk, who is one of the closest allies and friends of Putin. Also, Putin is the godfather of his daughter. This is an extremely important event, so don't miss that part of the video. And second is the confirmation by the deputy mayor of Mariupol, Sergei Orlov, the use of chemical weapons by Russians in the city. This event might and most likely will have severe consequences for Russia in the nearest future, so please stay for this one as well. I will also briefly present some other events and news that happened today. Today, one of the biggest allies and friends of Vladimir Putin, Victor Medvedchuk, was captured in Ukraine. Just to give you an example how close he and Putin are, Putin is the godfather of his daughter. He was then allegedly sent to Ukraine with almost personal task from the President Putin himself to destroy the country from the inside. He was the leader of one of the most opposition parties in Ukraine, and he was the one who was constantly denying the aggression of Russia against Ukraine. He also immediately recognized Crimea and Donbass region as Russian territories. And he was urging Ukrainians, both regular people and politicians, to cooperate with Russia. Think about this guy as Grima from The Lord of the Rings. And by the way, if you've never seen this movie, just pause this video and go ahead and watch it right now. So basically the plan was to infiltrate Viktor Medvedchuk in Ukrainian government so that he started poisoning the minds of higher government officials, so that Ukraine eventually can be taken with no resistance. But the plan eventually failed, the conspiracy was solved, and he tried to escape Ukraine. He was captured wearing the uniform of Ukrainian army, basically saying, "Come on guys, I'm on your side." But obviously no one believed him anymore, and the future of this old man is very uncertain. Specifically, the Ukrainian delegation member Mikhailo Podolyak is saying that the best case scenario to survive for Viktor Medvedchuk would be to be imprisoned in Ukrainian jail. Because in case he escapes and God forbid for him he goes to Russia, he'll be most likely eliminated. In this video we can see the last seconds of those Ukrainian soldiers who were shot point blank yesterday by tank. In this video we can see a residential building in Kharkov being under attack. And by the way, if you like this style of daily news reporting, feel free to like this video and subscribe to my channel. Also, I will be donating all of my Patreon memberships at the end of each month to Ukraine. And if you want to be a part of this group donation, make sure to check the link in the description. Today, the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, met with the president of Belarus, Alexander Lukashenko, and they were discussing the events in Ukraine. One of the main statements that Putin has made during this conversation is that peace talks with Ukraine have come to a dead end. And the main reason for this he gives is that Ukraine is constantly provoking and creating fakes against Russia, especially the one which happened in Bucha. He also made some other statements, including that this is also an indirect war with Russia against America, and America will fight until the very last Ukrainian. He also mentioned that even though sanctions are pretty impactful, Western countries failed to completely ruin the economy of Russia. Next thing he said that Russia is not planning to self-isolate, but at the same time we as Russians for the last several years sought in person the replacement of foreign companies and foreign products with Russian equivalents. At that time it felt like Russia was getting ready to become self-sufficient, and now it feels even more. And he concluded by saying that this so-called military operation on Ukraine is going in accordance with the plan, whatever it means. Recently, Finland announced that it is getting ready to join NATO, and in this video we can see Russian military vehicles getting closer to the borders with Finland. In this video we can see a residential house in Kharkov, Ukraine being completely destroyed by a missile strike. The deputy mayor of Mariupol, Sergei Orlov, has confirmed the fact of use of chemical weapons by Russian army in the territory of the city. He said that this information came to him directly from the soldiers defending the city, as well as from the hospitals where people have the symptoms of poisoning. The President Zelensky also commented on this fact, saying that this is a new act of terrorism against Ukraine. He asked other countries to react to this as soon and as hard as possible. And President of the US, Joe Biden, was also reminded about his statement that the US will react immediately if Russia uses chemical weapons. And in this video we can see some chocolates that are being sold in Russian supermarkets that obviously look like grenades. And I mean, who would have thought this would be such a great idea to start brainwashing kids? In this video we can see what residents of Kharkov, Ukraine can see outside of their window. Putin purges 150 Federal Security Service agents in response to Russian war with Ukraine, which takes way longer than anticipated. He was told that fighting Ukraine will be extremely easy, and those Ukrainians, especially in Donbass region, will meet Russians as liberators, which basically means that the majority of those FSB officers knew since the beginning that this was not gonna be just like that, but they simply couldn't tell Putin the truth. What they really hoped for is that this this military operation will be easy and successful, and this will be able to cover their lies. And in this map presented to us by the Ministry of Defense of the United Kingdom, we can see the current state of this so-called military operation in Ukraine. And feel free to pause the video if you want to see more details. On this map of Bucha, we can see every body of civilian Ukrainian who was found during Bucha massacre. Today, the president of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, was heavily criticizing some countries in Europe because of their unwillingness to ban Russian oil. He said that there are so many clear evidences about the crimes of the Russian army, and buying oil from Russia will only continue financing this war. The mayor of Kiev, Vitaly Klitschko, gave the main reason why the city is still standing. He said that Ukrainians are fighting for their own territory, friends and relatives, while Russians are fighting for money and because of general and officer orders. Magazine The Economist estimates that the price to rebuild Ukraine will be in between 220 and 540 billion dollars. So even though Ukrainians are nationalizing Russian property found in Ukraine, it will be still not enough. The whole world will need to pitch in to rebuild Ukraine. President Zelensky announced that the spring military recruitment will now be cancelled. And one of the potential reasons for this is that there are so many volunteers in Ukraine who want to go to this war that there is no need in new recruits. And in fact, I can confirm this because I do have an uncle who lives in Ukraine, and he says that almost every single male friend that he has wants to go to this war. Despite sanctions, the export of Russian oil has been the biggest since the beginning of this year. And I mean, all these Western countries are constantly saying the words of support to Ukraine, and in the meantime they still continue buying Russian oil, financing this war. Russian content creators, especially the ones from Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch and TikTok, has lost approximately 80% of their revenue in this month alone. And the main reason for this was obviously the complete ban of Facebook and Meta, which is now, by the way, considered to be extremist organization in Russia. In addition to that, the Russian parliament representative Alexei Chernyak is now suggesting to completely ban YouTube for at least 10 years. Yesterday, the Chancellor of Austria, Karl Nehammer, had an unofficial meeting with President Putin. He said that the meeting was pretty unproductive because as soon as they started talking about Ukraine, Putin tried to assure him that the thing that the Russian army is doing is the right thing. He also mentioned that Putin said that it will be a good thing for this war to be over as soon as possible. The advisor to the president of Ukraine, Alexei Arestovich, mentioned that death of Putin will not be beneficial to Ukraine. He said that for as long as Putin lives, Russia will be constantly under the pressure of sanctions, which potentially can destroy the country. He then added that even worst case scenario would be the release of the main opposition force of Russia, Alexei Navalny. He said that in this case he will try to make deals with Western countries as soon as possible, and as a result, Russia will not suffer the consequences of this war. Basically what he says here is that Ukraine needs Putin to survive so that Russia will be greatly affected by sanctions. According to the intelligence service of Ukraine, Russia is planning to do terroristic attacks on its own territory. And the reason why would they do it is to present these terroristic attacks as attacks from Ukraine, which will unite Russian people and especially soldiers against Ukraine even more. And in this video we can see the military vehicles from Poland arriving to Ukraine. The president of Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, expects that the final push of Russian army against Ukraine will be concentrated in the east and south of the country. He also says that it's probably going to be very destructive and ugly because the whole Russian army is now being concentrated in these areas. For this reason, he is asking Western countries, especially the US, to send them weapons and support as soon as possible. In response to that, the Ministry of Defense of the US says that yes, US has the intelligence that Russia is concentrating its forces in these territories. But as for now, they do not say whether they will send weapons or not. Thank you so much for your attention, stay safe and see you tomorrow.